interrupt this message for a very important broadcast. Welcome to the Distillery on PodX.
I'm going to be honest with you, that smells like pure gasoline.
Oh, hell yeah, friends. It's time to get it popping. It is the newest episode of The Distillery, where we're talking to somebody who's got a pile of background in sport. Tonia Evans, senior athletic performance coach at Crash Conditioning for like 3 years, Bachelor of Health and Physical Education, NCCP trained weightlifting coach, certified PN nutrition coach, active member of Alberta bobsleigh now as a break woman, and active member of AWA, that's Alberta's Weightlifting Association, as a 76-kilogram weightlifter. Friends, I've been trying to get this interview for some time now, and I can't believe I finally got a female to join me on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Tonia Evans. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm okay. We're talking about women in sport today, and of course, you were one of the few that I actually know personally from the old gym that we used to where I used to go to back when I was actually worried about my figure. But Can Pro Training Center, you were there. Were you going to school in Red Deer? What were you doing? Was it just a summer job you were training?
No, that was like right before I went to school. I was just upgrading when I was working for Al.
Right.
Yeah.
And I watched you put kids through some of the gnarliest stuff I've seen in a long time. Even a friend of mine, Wade, did he hire you for personal training or something like that?
No, did he not like win your guys' contest on the radio or something?
Wade?
No?
He might
or did
have.
he just come? I don't know. He ended up there, and yeah, I crushed his soul.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's brutal. You train hard too. By the way, I have to say, I messed up. In the promo video, I said powerlifting, and Tonya put me on blast about it. There's a difference. Now, you got to tell me, what the hell is the difference between what you're doing as a weightlifter and what the hell powerlifting is?
So biggest difference is Olympic weightlifting is actually an Olympic sport. Powerlifting is not.
Oh.
Second one is powerlifting. You do 3 disciplines where you do deadlift, bench press, and squat. Weightlifting is strictly clean and jerk and snatch. So just the 2 disciplines. I know, sounds super dirty.
That's awesome, though. But now, of course, you're looking into the whole bobsled scene. Tell us a little bit about that. Have you been on a run yet? Have you done any of this?
So in November, like right before we got shut down again, I had just like reached out to Alberta bobsleigh and asked them like how I could get involved, if they were looking for anyone, if they were recruiting anyone. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I told them my background was in like track and weightlifting. They loved that shit. So I went out to the ice house, which is the only thing we have available in Calgary right now, pushed a bobsled down a little like dip track, and then it comes back up about 4 times. And they're like, yeah, you should definitely come out some more. So here I am going to Whistler.
It makes sense, though. I mean, because, rugby background, that's all pushing. Weightlifting, I mean, I'm watching your Instagram is just you doing squats for days.
Yep.
So all that lower end power is important, obviously, for pushing the sled. It kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's basically the perfect sport background for.
It is, and I'm excited for you to do it. Now, the reason why I have you here on the show for a majority of our discussion is to talk about the difference in opportunity, finances, in general culture when it comes to women in sport as compared to men. Now, I was looking at a report. It's by Canadian Women in Sports. Mm-hmm. It showed that female sports make up 4% of programming on major Canadian sports networks compared to 38% for male sports. And I think that's one of the most telltale sort of stats that we can look at, because the biggest complaint coming down is you're not paying women the same as men, right?
Or at all.
Or at all. And then at the end of the day, how the hell do you create that sort of revenue if you don't have the exposure to build that sport up, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the first thing I remember as a kid is boys went and played hockey, and if girls wanted to play hockey, they just ended up with ringette. Totally. It starts at an early age.
Well, and I think that's the same, like, even if you like look at field sports, like boys played football and girls didn't have shit to play. Like, what did we play? Soccer. Like, that's all you really had.
Right.
Yeah. Or you danced. Like, that's, or
Right.
gymnastics. That's like quintessential thing that
The cheerleading is now picked up pretty big.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not dissing cheerleading because that looks like it's pretty fucking
it
athletic, man.
Fucking hard.
Yeah.
Have you watched Cheer on Netflix? Like,
no, I can't be
those
watching
girls.
Cheer.
They're insane.
You imagine? My wife comes in. It's like, what are you watching? Cheer on Netflix. Oh yeah, that's gonna look great.
We're in the doghouse.
Yeah, I'm not spending my time watching Cheer. No way. I've been dodging it. And it's funny because it keeps coming up recommended for you, and I'm like, yo, Netflix, I'm not about that life. That's for sure.
It's actually crazy though. Like, they're super athletic, and they don't get a lot of exposure either when you think of it. Like, even those incredibly athletic, like, sports for females don't get a lot of exposure. Like, when's the last time you saw gymnastics on TV?
Yeah, that doesn't usually come around unless it's the Olympics.
Olympics, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But you look at our most favorite sports we have here. I mean, the best example, I think, of the diversity or the divide between the two is probably hockey.
Oh, yeah. An easy one to pick on.
But it's true, man. Like, there was a national tournament down in what wasn't Salt Lake. It was Lake Placid.
Mm-hmm.
Or it wasn't a national, it was a world tournament. So the national teams went to this thing, and there was like the broadcast that they showed, because they were trying to get it on TV and stuff like that. But it was like one dude had a camcorder way up in the nosebleeds. This is how they were televising this. The presentation was terrible.
Yeah.
So how the crap are you going to get some sort of sponsorship behind that if this is the product that you're pumping out?
Yeah. Well, and it's like a weird double-edged sword, because they don't want you on TV because you don't make the money, but you can't make the money unless you put them on TV. So what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Right, because some company wants to advertise, they want to put commercials out. It's like, well, we have all these slots available during this women's hockey game. It's like, yeah, I saw that last broadcast. I don't think I want my
they're like,
business
you guys have like
there.
10 viewers. That's a no.
It's brute. Hey, yo, I'd be happy with 10 viewers. Okay, first of all,
right.
The other thing too is the lack of media coverage in general. When I open up TSN, I can find almost anything on my players. But if I was to, I couldn't name really that many women hockey players really anymore.
I don't think, like, I think they're starting to gain a presence, and like I think social media has a big reason behind that. But still, like, I even couldn't, and I work in hockey, I couldn't name like more than one woman on the American national team.
Well, even in your experience as a trainer, think of it that way though too. That makes sense. So what do you think the ratio would be between women you train that are specifically for a sport or in athletics compared to males?
Oh, it's like a decimal point.
Yeah, it's a landslide.
Like, we have, like, the gym I work at now, we have 4 girls that trainer.
See, that's so crazy to me. And I wonder if it has a lot to do with there aren't just that. Is it reflective of there not being that many programs running, or is it just the programs aren't necessarily giving them the best opportunity to improve by training at the gym and stuff like that?
I feel like the programs, like, for hockey, especially for women, are not that great. Like, I don't want to bash anyone in particular, but like, there's one division in Calgary for girls, and that's it.
What's the age group?
Well, they go through like the whole thing. It's from like 14 like up to U18.
Right.
But yeah, there's just one team you can make, really. And then they play community with the boys up until like Pee-wee, and then they have to go on their own.
But then that's the thing, is like, on their own to what? If you look at how structured hockey is, you've got, of course, even you've got all your Pee-wees all the way up. And then, I mean, once you start hitting WHL, now you get drafted, you got national hockey teams as well as the AHL. But is there any equivalent at all for women's sport of that level?
No. Girls, basically, you play hockey until, like, now that they've changed the way the divisions are named, it's U18. And then if you didn't get signed to play hockey at university, whether it's like NCAA Div 1 in the States or you're playing university somewhere in Canada, your hockey career is basically done.
It's
as a
fucking
woman.
depressing.
So you
have
play
to,
till you're 18 and you're really fucking good at it, and then you're
yeah.
fucking done.
But then what? Like you'd have to try out for a national team to be part of that. That's all that's left for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we have a couple girls at the gym that are NCAA Div 1, but once they're done, they're done. Like really, unless they get picked up by the national development team, there's no stream for them. And what, you're 22 at that age, you're like at the peak of your playing career. Like guys aren't even making it into the NHL until they're 22, half of them.
I think that's indicative of a bigger problem because I'll admit, listen, I've watched the WNBA, and compared to the NBA, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just looking at skill level, and I know that sounds terrible, but I think a lot of that comes back to what we just talked about. If you want a better product on the ice and you want more talent, you want more skill, how the shit are they going to cultivate that if there's no leagues, there's no programs? There's just it all starts all the way back to supporting women in sport at a girls in sport age, like a really young
grassroots level. Like you need to put money into it.
Speaking of money, though, if you look at the pay gap, it's unbelievable. Here's an example: the average salary earned for a WNBA player is $71,635, which is
that's pretty decent.
Me and you, us poverty bastards. Yeah. But here's the average. The average NBA player gets $582,180 a year. Now, I get it, because if a product is making money, they can disperse that salary easier. Mm-hmm. But how do you cultivate your sport and getting better at it when I know the women's version of the NHL, they're having a big problem because these women had to go to work. They have day jobs, and then they've got to go play a game or hit a practice. Like, how can you possibly get better at it and have a better sport?
It's so hard. Like, I feel like sports, when you have to work a full-time job and train and go to practices and have all of these things, they're probably in school on top of it, like adding that stress to perform at a high level. Like nobody can do that. Like that's humanly like impossible.
And now that you've worked with some of the girls in NCAA, can you see the difference between even within women's sports and what they give you stateside compared to what we have in our country? Like, I assume it's not even close.
No, I like the NCAA, the way they're run is far better than our university league, in my opinion. Like, U Sport for men, pretty good, but what NCAA can give you as opposed to what U Sport can give you is completely different. But most of their money comes from football. Like a lot of the southern states, or like the states,
really?
All that money comes in from football and like broadcasting from football. So
that makes sense.
They're able to like spread that through their sports a little bit better. But then you've got places like South Dakota that are huge hockey towns. Yeah. They get a ton of money from broadcasting, so they can kind of disperse that into their women's programs, but still not the same.
Being a student athlete, I imagine, would be really difficult anyway, let alone having the ladies side of it, just maybe not getting the same amount of funding.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if folks were to dig into the books, could they see an equal dispersal in NCAA? That'd be an interesting
I doubt
study.
it. Like
well, that's it. Like, I doubt it too. There's just this is a quote that I thought was pretty prudent. In sports TV, the tail wags the dog. The money goes where the audience is. Money will go to women's sports as soon as an audience wants to watch women in sports. So the best way to support women athletes is by attending women's sports in the first place. That's what everybody can do, grassroots. So you can buy a ticket to maybe an RDC Queens game or whatever they're called now, or I believe
they change it.
Yeah, like we have the women Optimist Chiefs, the ladies side of it too. Mm-hmm. So there's different things we can do. But that's the truth. I mean, if there's no real funding coming in, there's no money to spread. So that's the square one when it comes to that sort of problem. This comes from Allison Felix, a track and field Olympic champion. She stated, the biggest issues facing women in sports right now are visibility and respect. Women are still not given the same opportunities as men, and it does not seem like our accomplishments are viewed as being as impressive as men's are too.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably a fair statement until you look at some of the Olympic sports. I think we all celebrate our men's and women's athletes. It's one of the few times I can think of, Ton, where equally they get the same visibility, they get the same sort of attention.
Yeah, I'd honestly agree with you there. I think the men still get a little more attention because they can throw bigger shit. Like if you look at, like, I'm a huge snowboard kid. Like I love snowboarding. Watching slopestyle in the Olympics is insane.
Yeah.
But like, look at the tricks that the guys are physically more capable of doing. They're doing like 1080s, like crazy shit, and the girls can't. They just can't physically do it. So it's never as exciting. So even though they're still getting the broadcasting and they're still getting more visibility through those, what is it, like 14 days of sports? People still want to watch the men more than the women.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's a reality thing. And somebody can bitch at me and email the show and complain about it. But the truth of the matter is, when you look at the physical attributes, there's a difference. And when it comes to athletic performance, those physical attributes obviously changed. It'll change what sort of product you're going to get, even for you in weightlifting.
Well, it drives me crazy when people bitch about that. Like, physiologically, women are never going to be as strong as men. That's just not going to happen. We're way too different that way.
Unless it's you and me, because you would kick my ass.
True.
But I know. But at the same time, like, and that comes down to what you're viewing too, and it changes the way people, or why they watch and what they're viewing. One of the things that I really don't like is the NHL, or the women's version of the NHL, and just their game in general is different than the men's. Mm-hmm. If we keep honking on equality, then play the same damn game. Listen, Natalie Spooner is a giant. I've had her in the studio before. Her legs are as wide as my waist. She's an animal. You unleash her to start checking other girls, and it's game over on that blue line. Like, why don't they allow that? I don't understand.
I don't know. Have you ever watched like college women's soccer or like women's rugby?
I mean, I've watched the women's rugby before.
Watch them, and then you'll be reminded probably why they don't let women hit in hockey. I guarantee
because they're fucking terrifying.
It's not because we're fragile. It's because we are crazy. Like, we're like, oh, I don't like that fucking girl. I'm gonna go like fucking crush her.
When you watch,
it would literally be fights and hitting constantly. I mean, like, I'm not gonna speak for all girls, but like,
well, true. But if you have a sport like rugby, that's obviously an aggressive sport. Because I watched the Lady All Blacks play here in Red Deer, and it was these chicks were terrible, and they did that haka thing at the front of the game. Has anybody ever seen this? Ooh, man, smacking themselves and blah and all this shit. I'm like, wow, crazy. That's one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in real life. Like, I've watched before on video. When you see it in real life, man, it's a completely different game.
Oh yeah, they're intense. Girl, it's not that we aren't like competitive enough. It's just, I think we're a little crazy, and maybe that's why they don't let us hit in hockey. I don't know. I'd love to see it change. I think it'd be awesome. I think it would make the game like way easier to market.
I wouldn't I immediately know, Ton, if they change the game to match the men's game, I know immediately it would be more interesting for me, because now size matters, speed matters, space and area. It changes the game to make it far more interesting. This is a question that came in from Casey. He asks, how can women athletes use icons like Lori Locust and Moral Jaff? I don't even know who these people are. Javadifar. Can you say
their coaches? Yeah, I don't know how to say that last name.
Man, I'm sorry. No disrespect. But these are assistant coach positions to enhance women's awareness in sport. Are you seeing now that it's starting to change the attitudes a little bit when it comes to women in sport in general? Is it just the beginning? Or
I think it's just the beginning. I think it's a really like uphill battle at this point. It's awesome to see women as coaches, but like I'd like it to be just normal, like whatever, to the point where if a female gets hired as a coach, we don't even talk about it because it's so fucking normal. But it's so abnormal and weird that it's literally like front page news on TSN. This is the first female referee in a Super Bowl, and it's like huge fucking news. Like, why is that such big news? It's 2021. Like, what?
But it's true. It's indicative of how far we have yet to go when it comes to going like, oh, I'm getting coached by a girl. But like I quoted earlier, there is a touch of that respect factor. And I think there's a level of men in locker room type situations and whatever, where they just, they find it emasculating to get torn down by a female coach and say, you better get your shit together, or you need to do this on this play or whatever. I think there's a level of emasculation behind that a lot of people need to get over first in order to truly respect the female minds and talents within the game too.
Well, like I see that even just coaching, like I'm only coaching in a gym, but you get
but you coach hockey players, right? Well, tell me about that. What's that like?
So there's this weird age where like younger boys get to the point where they see you as like a mom figure.
Oh my God, I almost spit that. Okay, I'm following. Yes. Oh.
It's true. It's probably true.
I don't think, listen, Ton, and I'm trying to say this in a way that's respectful, but I don't think when young men reach a certain age, they're looking at you like mom. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
This is like 12-year-olds. Like they haven't puberty. Let's be like real honest.
Okay. But
there's a creepy stage, but like 12 before the creepy stage.
Right.
Yeah. No, there is like a stage where they like give you this look. You're like, nah, do it again. Or like you tell them that they've done something wrong and they give you this look and they're like, who are you to tell me what to do? But if any of my male counterparts said that, they would never do that. It's like they can like try and push the boundaries with me. And I'm like, no, like I get that it may be emasculating, but that is a learned behavior. And that's a learned behavior in hockey culture, I find, or in a lot of sport cultures.
Well, I think that's an attitude that's going to take a very long time to change. And I think it's because it's hardwired.
Oh, for sure.
In boys, they're just weird that way. But I got to ask, now that we brought it up, I mean, you get a bunch of 20-year-old hockey players or maybe 16 to 20-year-old, and you're training them, you're getting them ready for whatever. Maybe it's just maintenance and athletics for hockey or whatever.
Yeah.
You get any side glances, some looks, some chat? You know, they ever ask you out? Have they ever tried that? Because that's
ballsy. Because my boss would murder them. Like murder, that it would be murder. Yeah, we would bury them out back. It would not be a good time. But yeah, no, they try and push the buttons, right? They're dumb. They're 16, 20-year-old boys. They don't.
Pro tip, that doesn't change. Like,
no, it really. I know that.
Any of the men watching right now would be like, yeah, I'm still, as soon as I became a hornball at about 13, 12, I just remained that way for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Men
it's
don't
the truth, fellas.
Until they're 43 or something like that. Like women do it like 28. Like, it's a huge disparity.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So you got to tell me a little bit about bobsled. And I think you found a really cool sport where I don't find the disparity so much between men and women with that sport. I think it's equally respected. Would that be fair to say, or at least for the most part?
I would say now it is definitely.
Yeah. Like you feel that, right, when you're with the team?
Yeah. So women don't compete in 4-man. It's 2-man and 4-man for men, but women only had 2-man forever.
Why?
But now we have monobob, right?
What the fuck is monobob? Because that sounds dirty for one. Oh.
I mean, yeah, anything can sound dirty if you try.
Monobob. You telling me one person pushes themselves into a sled and just steers it themselves? Like it must be a very tiny sled. Is it just a fucking GT snow racer that they throw down this thing? Or
might as well be, but
it's got to be tiny, right?
Yeah.
So why would there be a difference in format? That doesn't make any damn sense to me.
I honestly don't know. I'd love to pick someone's brain on that. I feel like women would crush it.
Is it because there isn't enough ladies doing the sport? Like they literally
very
couldn't fill
well
out the team?
could be. Yeah, I feel bobsled is like one of those sports that not a lot of people just go into immediately. People when they're young aren't like, I want to do bobsled. I feel like it's a sport that a lot of people like go into after they've done like their university career. Like a lot of track athletes end up there, a lot of old football players, stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those sports where you end up in.
Here's the cool part.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally training for a team. I've been down the slope more times than you.
I know. Isn't that insane?
I've been on a bobsled. I did this at the Calgary Olympic Park. And for those of you who don't know, you can purchase a ticket to ride. You can buy this. I think it was the wife and I, and then we got in with one other random person. They got a pilot, obviously a trained pilot, thank God. And they stuff you into this thing. You don't have to do the running and pushing, whatever. They just got other goobers that get you going down it. And it is the craziest roller coaster rush I've ever been on in my damn life. I screamed the whole time, Tonya. I was like, ah!
You fucking would scream.
I would. I was terrified. And I think at one point in that Calgary track, you push something like fucking 3 G's, right? Listen, I'm a heavy man. Like that's a lot of G's pushing down.
That helps you.
Apparently
Being
it does.
Heavier makes it faster.
I was making up for my 4'11" wife. And I remember we got to the bottom of this thing and she hadn't seen a damn thing out of the sled because the helmet was so big and bulky on her noggin that it basically, the G-force crushed her skull into the bottom of that sled and she couldn't even like look out to see what was happening.
No, man. No, I literally started doing like neck exercises once I like figured out I was going to Whistler because
how do you work out your neck? You just listen to a lot of Lamb of God and just
right?
Yeah? Is that a real thing?
No, like those big Swiss balls, those like yoga balls. You literally just like roll it up and down like on the wall. It's
Really?
you look like an absolute
I was gonna say you
dumbass.
must look ridiculous.
Yeah. But like I got a concussion history. We don't need to like rack my brain around in my skull anymore. So
You have a concussion history
like that. Oh yeah.
Perfect. Well, that explains why you're like leaning against the ball
on
a wall, right?
Yeah, right. Just like drooling in the gym.
I'm gonna try something. I've never tried this before on the show, but I dug up a video because you are going to Whistler when?
I leave on the 22nd.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like now we're getting real. You're going down the track and you're learning. It's getting in depth. Okay. So I'm going to try this. I'm hoping I don't have anything stupid on my desktop.
That would be awkward.
Yeah. Right. So I found it's a video of the Whistler track. It is, by the way, they say the fastest bobsled track in the world. I'm going to kill the volume so we don't get any echo, but you can just see now. This is just when you start here, Ton. So this is pretty chill. When I was doing it at this point, I was like, yeah, I can deal with this.
I'm fine.
But look how quick.
Every curve you go around, you gain speed.
And I don't know how tiny this woman is in the middle.
She's very small.
Yeah.
But she's holding her own. Like her head's not that bad.
So when you're going down the track, are you trying to be as stationary as possible? Does the side to side fuck the sled up? Or?
No, I think that you're taught to like kind of lean into the curves with your pilot a little bit.
Now we're moving. Oh my God.
See, this gets me going. Like I would be so hyped. Oh yeah. I would probably be laughing at this point because I'm having so much fun because I'm an absolute psychopath.
Or is it like one of those things where I'm laughing because I'm terrified?
Oh no, I'm laughing because I'm like, this is
Ton, look at this. You can't even focus on anything. It's just like it's a goddamn blur going past you at this point. Like I'm glad you're jacked because I honestly would be terrified. But it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life, just for something fun to do, right?
Yeah.
If anybody gets a chance, you've got to buy a ticket to go try some bobsled.
Can't go in Calgary anymore.
What? Wait.
Yeah. So
What happened?
they had to shut the track down because it needs a new refrigeration system because it's what, like 32 years old, like what was built in like 1988.
It was 88 Olympics, right?
Yeah. So it's the refrigeration system doesn't work anymore. So they can't run it. So they need money to fix it, but there's not enough money to fix it.
What the hell kind of refrigeration system is run on this thing? I
don't
thought they
know,
just
man.
did this. Don't they just do this shit in winter so you don't need a refrigeration system? I thought they just had a dude with a garden hose spraying down the track.
No, but there is like bobsleigh started in Switzerland. Like that's where it originated. And there's a track in Switzerland that is all natural. So every winter they carve this thing out of ice and it's like a completely natural, like built into.
Yes.
It's so fucking cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So cool.
And terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. But like so fun.
It's not a regularly maintained thing. Here, Casey's got a comment. He says the sub-zero temps of Alberta are not refrigerant enough. Now, Casey.
I think so right now.
Yeah, right now. Good God. But that's the thing. Like weather-wise, have they talked to you a little bit about how, because we know how it affects like hockey ice. Mm-hmm. Like it has to be a huge impact on a bobsled track.
So every time you go to a new track, you do a track walk. Usually it's for the
How the crap do you walk in ice?
So you have like, I should have like pulled out my gear for you. So we have like shoes. What? Like we have ice spikes, right? Like that we use to start.
Like crampons?
When you do your track walk, you're basically wearing crampons, but we have like our track shoes that have like gnarly little tiny spikes on the front and you have to run on your toes. Yeah. So yeah, we just do a track walk and then you get to feel the curbs and like the pilots get to check out the entire track and like see what they're going to do, which is the fastest way around. You get to kind of like get your bearings.
What do you mean? What is the fastest way around? I thought you just
like there's like
I thought you just got to keep that goddamn sled on the track.
No, there's a certain way to enter those curves to be perfect and to get like the most speed popping out.
So as I understand, the pilot literally has like, it's just a couple of strings. You angle skis, right? Like that's it.
It's fucking crazy.
Why wouldn't they have revolutionized this? Like, why couldn't they have a little steering wheel like down underneath the front?
Know. I kind of like that about bobsleigh though, that it's just like weird. It's kind of ghetto. It like seems a little fucking crazy.
It's true.
Like you're literally in a tin can going down an ice track. Like,
well, you're pumping speeds of around 117 kilometers an hour, right? Is that, I think
that the men can get up to like 150, like plus.
Like that's Highway 2.
Oh, that's like faster than Highway 2. I mean, it depends how you drive.
In a fiberglass sled. Well, I'm like, do you not have any trepidation at all whatsoever? I remember watching the Olympics, man, and people died. This.
I've watched some pretty gnarly crashes recently. I think they like teach you how to like, it's the same with like weightlifting. Like we get taught, that's like the first thing we get taught as weightlifters is how to bail out of lifts if you're not going to make them. So you don't drop shit on your head. So same with bobsled, you get taught to like tuck your head in. If you're going around a corner and you're going to fall over and your head's going to smash into the side of the track, you tuck your head into the sled so you don't hit it.
It's terrifying.
my amygdala must not work because my fear center is like, whatever.
What's scarier? What's scarier for you? A bobsled run or a first date?
A first date. 100%.
I only bring it up because I've been pestering Ton about the dating scene, but that's me advertising the fact that you're single. I didn't even mean to do that. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
I'm sorry about that.
Cheers.
By the way, that's the other thing I want to mention. This is how class our guest is today. She's drinking wine out of a coffee mug.
Thanks for outing me. I should have just put it in a glass. I was like, I'm gonna be like sneaky.
I love it. Yeah. It's because you're ghetto, I'm ghetto, and that's what it's all about. When we look at women in sport for the future, though, is there any hope that it'll get to a level where the product that's being telecast is going to be, something that's somebody's put some time into and all that shit? And how long do you think it'll get really to that point? Because I think it's a long haul.
I think it's a long haul too. I definitely have hope. There's some really cool organizations out there now, like Parity is a really cool organization where they help support women in a fight for equal pay in sports. And they've got a ton of athletes, like professional athletes on their roster that they sponsor, that they promote. Really cool company. I think if the NHL backs the women's league, like the NBA has backed their women's league, I think that they've got a better chance. It's all about consumers, though. Honestly, I think it's still like an equality battle at the end of the day. People just don't find it as exciting, like you said. It's not the same quality. So I think it'll get there. I have hopes. Like, I really hope so, because I have a lot of really awesome athletes that I train that are women that are super talented.
Yeah.
That deserve that opportunity. That work harder than any of the boys that I coach, that just get things handed to them.
I think there's a lot of that yet too, if we're really honest about it. Funding I've never heard from a male athlete, or for instance, a hockey player, and I pick on it all the time just because we're in Canada.
It's easy. We're in Canada. It's built into our culture. It's part of who we are.
I've never had, here at where I work at our radio station at Z98.9 Red Deer, I've never had an email from a male athlete looking for some sort of sponsorship.
Yeah.
We've had it from ladies. And I wish there was a way that we can make it go. We really don't deal in that sort of thing. But I mean, when you have to find your own sponsorship and essentially be your own agent, right, Tonia? If you're your own agent, how the crap else are you going to make this thing go? Because it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
Training isn't cheap. What would you say? Like the nutrition, the supplements, the actual training in the sport itself. Like, fuck, how much money are you spending on this bobsled thing? Or are you lucky enough that they're kind of bringing you into a fold?
No. So provincially, I think you start to get a little bit of money. You can apply for Can Fund.
What's that?
It's the government, basically. They help fund athletes in Canada that compete nationally. So you can only apply for it like certain ways. Like, you know who Erica Weeb is? Yep. She's a wrestler, super badass.
She's an animal.
She is so badass.
We had her in the station for about 30 minutes to do a couple of interviews, and I was just like, this girl would wrap me up like some kind of python and just like
crush everyone. But ridiculous. She has to use that. She's doing her master's. She's still competing, getting ready for the Olympics. Has funding from the government, so it's really like the only option unless you get like those sponsorships. But really, Nike's not going to give you as much money as they're going to give like Tiger Woods or something. Like, it's just not going to happen. So
could there not be a program, and I mean like an app, for instance, where somebody should build this, where it's a sponsor fund. It's basically like crowdfunding an athlete, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So I've got $10 I want to donate, and I can just click on a sport or a women's sport or something like that. Maybe that's the start. And then all of that funding adds up and it gets equally dispersed for training and all that sort of shit. There's got to be a way to make that happen.
So honestly, I think that's kind of what Parity now is doing.
Oh, okay.
Their website, basically you can join them as a professional female athlete. And then there's brands that can join that website. And then they match athletes up with brands that are willing to sponsor them. So that's kind of what they're trying to do, and like kind of build a little traction there. But yeah, there's so much opportunity for that. Like, women are badass. Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
Of course they're badass. But I gotta show you, like, listen, man, I'm telling you, like, there's still time to get out, because look at this shit. This is the US Olympic, I believe it's the US Olympic team.
Yeah.
Or no. Yeah. See, look at this. Holy shit.
Yeah. It happens.
What do you mean it happens? They're on their skulls.
Yeah, I like that my mom literally just commented and you're showing her a crash and she's probably
Mom,
shitting
you
her
gotta
pants.
be concerned, man. Look at this. This is real. That's crazy.
I mean,
I didn't know the bobsleds rotated like that. Did you see that?
Oh yeah.
Look at the nose of it. It can turn.
Yeah,
see
no, that thing's just broken.
Oh, it's busted.
That thing's busted.
Here, I thought it had to do with some sort of steering apparatus or something like that.
That is not what you want to do. But I think that, like, as an athlete, but like in any sport, there is a possibility that something fucked up like that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like whether you're in hockey and you're getting like you're like who was that? Like I can't remember. Like everybody gets blown up. Like Dustin Bufflin like crushes people. Used to crush people. He doesn't play anymore. But like,
yeah, that's right.
That's just like as an athlete,
dudes are having heart attacks on benches, not even out on shift. Like just you never know what's happening, right?
There's always a risk, and I think that's what separates any athlete from like a regular person. We're willing to like put our bodies through that kind of shit just to like do what we want to do because we love it.
Well, like that's my thing is like when you look at these athletes, though, I will give them credit, and guys and gals, it takes a special kind of sadistic. It's got to be sadistic to put yourself through that physical strain to get your body to a point to perform like that at a high level, but then all the other little skills and the dedication to muscle memory repeatedly do this thing over and over again, good to get good at it.
Yeah.
Like you must see this all the time. You could probably pick them out in a training group. It's like that kid's got it. He's got talent and he's got the will. That kid's lazy as fuck. Like, you know, he's looking for the way out. Can you not see that?
Oh yeah. Well, it's a mentality thing. You can tell the kid that's there like 10 minutes before their session starts, like doing their like foam rolling and stuff like that. Those are the kids that want it. But then you can just see it like how they act. If kids are just fucking around with their friends in a training session and like beating each other off and not actually just there to work, there's a huge difference. But it's a mentality. I think that you just either have it or you don't. And you can be super talented, but you do not have that mental toughness and that mental drive to make it.
You got to be kind of sadistic, man. That's what I'm saying. Listen, just to make your body do that sort of thing. But
and like, look at your poor Oilers.
Like, hold the phone. Listen, girl, you clap back right now. I'm telling you, they're looking okay. They're doing okay. Everybody's talking about Montreal and Toronto being the top teams in the Canadian fucking division. It's bullshit because we just beat both of those squads. Easy, girl.
Hey, I don't hate the Oilers. I'm just saying, like, as an example, Nail Yakupov, that guy was talented, but mindset, not there. He didn't have that mental toughness to just, like, go through being, like, on the third and fourth line. He just couldn't hack it.
That's right.
And then you got other guys that
are
probably less talented that make it because they fucking want it.
They want it, and they're willing. Well, they're willing to go through that adversity, right? It's like Nail Yakupov. Here's an example. I bet you this kid, for his entire hockey career, was probably lights out, right? He was great.
Yep.
But the first time he hit the pros, all of a sudden, he wasn't that level up above everybody else. Now you got to work at it, and you got to find a way to work through it. And he never did. He just couldn't find any traction.
It's a mental thing. Like I do a lot of mental work, and I think that I have to.
Well, yeah, it's because you've been banged on the head. How many times you said?
A few.
Didn't you say you were concussed like 30 times or some noise?
No, it's not that insane. Like 6, 7.
Like 6 or 7 concussions, man. Doing what? Is that from the skateboarding days?
Like no, I didn't. No.
Rugby?
So, no, I never got car accidents, man. I had 2 car accidents.
You've had 6 or 7. Oh.
2.
You had 2 car accidents and got 6 concussions?
The other ones were me being a little stupid.
Yeah, doing stupid things.
Because I do dumb shit like crazy carpet off a sled or off of a shed roof when I'm like 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just built into
so if we dig deep, basically this brain damaging behavior goes way back into your youth, is what you're saying.
I think I've always just been full send. But I think that you need that as an athlete. If you don't have that mentality of just like go and just do whatever it takes to get
Of course,
there.
you got to be full send. You got to be full send to do this sort of sport that you've chosen or that you've fallen into at this point.
Yeah.
It's the only way that it makes any goddamn sense to risk this. Look at this again. That's what I'm saying.
My mom's literally like shitting her pants right now. 100%. The guy just like flies out.
Sorry, I thought I'd show it again. I knew your mom was watching. Okay, I'll take it down. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry.
So funny.
Anyway, at the end of the day, I'm just going to throw it out there. Apparently, you have a date after the show.
Yeah, I do.
So, is this why we're getting a little wind up or getting ready to go out and be courted?
Probably. Like, who wants to go on a first date sober? That sounds rough.
When's the last time you got hit on by anybody that wasn't 20 years old and training under you? Like, that must be nonstop, by the way. I'm just saying.
It honestly,
the dudes must be the worst.
Isn't. It honestly isn't. They're actually really great kids. Like,
that's good.
There's probably some like backhanded stuff that I just choose to ignore.
Oh, Christ, you don't want to know.
But like whatever. I just think they're all great kids. Like all the kids that I train are really good kids. I have no complaints. I'm sure they're shitheads like sometimes, but like I don't see it. So like I don't.
I'm weird that way. Like, so when I was at Camp Pro, like we had a couple of girls that were on the regular that would come in, and some of the trainers and stuff like that. And I was always so scared of making them uncomfortable that I probably made them uncomfortable by literally walking around with my head down and stuff and trying not to look at them and shit and not saying a word. I bet you that makes it even weirder.
Oh, shout out to Kate. Poor Kate. Why are you gonna make yourself uncomfortable? Caitlin.
This is who you work with? Oh, Caitlin.
Caitlin. I actually worked with her. She moved to Calgary and like ended up working at the gym with me that I work at now for like a summer.
Now, for those, obviously, there's a lot of people that don't know, but Caitlin was an NCAA soccer full ride. She had a full ride for soccer, I believe, in the NCAA.
University of Wyoming.
Right. Yeah. Incredible. Like, this girl was ripped.
So athletic. Yeah. Absolutely insane.
Now, this is going to sound creepy, but I don't mean it this way. But watching her work out, like, I'm just like, it's like she likes hurting herself. The workouts that she would endure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Some of the workouts I've seen her do, I wouldn't even touch.
Well, even you, like I watched you have your lifting on your Instagram page. You do a lot of videos with that. And I'm just like, right about there. Yep. My back would give out. Yep. I'd blast the shoulder doing that. There's no way, but I'm old and busted up. Thank God.
Whatever. I have friends that are like half my age that are like, my knees couldn't do that shit. What the hell are you doing? Like, I don't know. I beat myself up. Weightlifting was really hard on my body, but like, so was the transition to bobsleigh because now I'm sprinting like 4 times a week. And my hip flexors are like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah,
like,
right.
We haven't done this since we're 18. Like, what are you doing to us? And I'm like a mess and I'm in like physio and chiro for like every week.
You know, and I'm going to pre-promote next week. I'm going to be talking about cannabis on the show. But while I have an athlete here, is the CBD, because it's legal here in Canada, do you find the CBD thing is starting to spread out throughout the athletic community, or is it not something that's really grasped yet?
It's honestly huge. Like even weightlifting, it's massive. Like even in the States where it's not generally like, I mean, legal everywhere.
Right.
A lot of weightlifters take CBD. It's just
does it work? Have you tried it? Like, does it work? Because I hear it's supposed to be like an inflammation thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's all natural too, right? So it does like calm your nervous system down a bit. It definitely helps with inflammation. I take it every night. Like I can't take anything else though, because now we're in like a tested pool. So we have to be really careful with like THC contamination because we have like an upper limit of THC.
What the fuck is an upper limit? Listen, man. Okay, if Shaun White can get blazed as hell and do what he does on a snowboard, friends, he ain't helping himself by doing that.
But it's still a banned substance. Like the WADA still considers THC a banned substance Because a lot of people take it for like mental clarity and for focus. Like there's
You telling me people getting baked for mental focus?
Yeah, literally like Michael Phelps smokes pot to focus.
Listen, man, I've got my THC drops. There's nothing about that is mental focus.
You're just like,
I forgot I was eating at one point. I had a plate sitting on my chest that was laying
like,
down.
what?
I forgot I was
Oh,
eating.
no.
I got up and spilled a whole plate of food. That's how messed up you can get with this stuff.
Honestly, I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's still a banned substance, but it is, and it sucks. So you have to
It
be
might
really
be an
careful with that
international
kind of
thing. Like
stuff.
it's because
It
it's an
definitely
international.
is.
Yeah.
WADA is an international organization. So, but that governs like all Olympic sports, and that's what bobsleigh falls into. So,
Well, before we go, Ton, number one, thank you so much for having a laugh with me and talking about
Oh,
something
yeah,
that's pretty
fun.
serious, man. Like,
It's
I mean,
serious. Yeah.
there's so much information online when I was researching for this show that it was honestly overwhelming. There's a lot of literature out there on what is happening for women in sport, but there's also some really positive stories out there too. So before we go, is there a way that we can support what you do? Is there like is there some sort of site that I can go to support Ton by going to Women's Bobsled or some shit and donating?
So I don't know about donations, but our provincial association, just Alberta Bobsled, if you like give them a follow on Instagram, even I think just the support of like the general public. It's a weird sport. It's only in the Olympics. People don't really watch it any other way. So I feel like there's not a ton of exposure.
Well, that's the thing is like, are you even competing when it's not in a national situation? Is like,
so our development team, they have like they have the North American Cup. So that's like the US and Canadian development team. They just go like head to head. So all the athletes that are in like development for national team, they compete. Yeah, I honestly don't know like a whole lot about.
Well, you're pretty new to this whole thing. Like
I'm like 2 months in. I haven't even like been in a freaking sled, but I'm just happy to be here.
I love it, and I'm wishing you the best of luck, Ton, because I think this sport makes sense. Like we talked about, with the weightlifting background and the power all in your lower body and your ability to sprint again and be powerful that way. I think this is a great fit for you, and you get to take a lot of really cool rides that I think some folks wouldn't have the opportunity to do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it'll be cool. And then like if people want to look at our international, the World Cup for bobsleigh is on right now too. So it's IBSF is our international. Like,
that's the Twitter feed?
No, that's the Instagram. And they post like a ton of like IGTV videos of like runs. You get to see like the Germans are just insane. Like 5-second start times, these people.
Wait, so they're one of those countries that's always the one to beat sort of thing?
They are like handling everyone in the World Cup circuit right now. It's insane. Like first, second. But like our Canadian men are really awesome. Like Justin Cripps, like shout out. Yeah. He's from Red Deer area. He's insane. Like he's such a good pilot. And they're doing well. I think they got bronze in their first World Cup.
Nice.
So yeah. And our women are doing good. We have a lot of really awesome skeleton athletes. Like skeleton's insane.
Yeah, no, that you are right.
Yeah.
I've seen people doing this skeleton stuff. That's messed up.
Yeah.
I've gone on a crazy carpet head first down a hill. It's never ended well. Like from the time I was born, never ended well.
It really doesn't. But no, they're like props to them. They're insane athletes. Like I have a lot of respect for them. You're literally not in anything. You're on a goddamn sled with your head.
Like the women are animals too, like their teams and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Jane Chanel, she's really cool. She's probably one of our best athletes, like on Team Canada for sliding. Yeah, she's a beast. That girl can sprint. Like they all come from track backgrounds, right? Like she ran track at Simon Fraser University.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's where they recruit a lot of athletes. But
Well, I want you to do me a favor when you get to the big time and you're achieving the dream, and I wish it for you. And when you're doing when you're competing in the Olympics, you got to remember us out here at the distillery. You got to come on and do an interview so we can talk about getting you fired up, getting you jacked up, and ready to go to slide, do some super fast sliding. Well,
I'll never forget my roots. Like, a lot of people have supported me. Like, I mean, technically, like, people think I'm old, like I'm over 30. So, like, to be just like starting out in a sport, people look at that and they're like, 30, I know. Look, I'm 25. Like, it's fine.
That's what I thought. No, really, I thought you were 25. You're over 30.
Let's just go with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Wow, I sounded slimy. I was trying to be nice, by the way, for all the like Sony.
Didn't
step
sound
back.
slimy.
You're married. Fine. We all know you're married. All right. Girl, I really appreciate it. Okay. Ways people can stay in touch, because you're a social media ghost. You can see it right there on Tonia's name tag. Instagram is Tawny. Go give her a follow and root her on as she starts this brand new adventure with
I'm gonna track like my entire Whistler trip too.
Yes.
So I'm gonna try and get some videos for everybody of like me going down the track, like even though if it's probably just going to be like turns for my coach, or starts, but yeah, I'll definitely try and like.
Well, training stuff, introduce us to the team, introduce us to the coaches, all that stuff. Yeah. We want to follow your story, because it's going to be legend going forward. Legendary. All right, love, you hang on right there. I really appreciate it. And there you go, man. The Distillery, talking about women in sport. We could have really dissected into a lot of different sports and what they deal with, and obviously all the finances. But I think the generalization is this. If you want to support women in sport, you got to attend the events and watch the events. It's really the only way that the exposure is going to carry this thing forward, to ensure that the TV quality, the broadcast quality gets better. And of course, more importantly, women can actually take this on like a career, and they don't have to have day jobs in order to make their dreams happen. So thanks a lot for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Tonia was she's fantastic. Go follow her on Instagram and watch her bobsled story going forward.
Next time on The Distillery.
Join me February 20th for the next episode of The Distillery. Episode 10 is all about cannabis. We'll be talking to dispensary rep Ron Party about all the gadgets and gizmos that are available. Also, all the different kind of products that are now very widespread. And, of course, the new edible market that's coming into play. All of that and so much more next time on The Distillery. Don't miss episode 10. We're talking about cannabis.